Welcome back to Small FrameCAD ADU Project Part 2. Today we're going to go over our openings. So let me pull up my Google Doc handout. One thing I wanted to explain for you all is some of the glossary terms for our openings. So here is a typical elevation with a window and a door. This window is 2'6" in width, 2'6" wide, and is also 3'6" tall. But typically in FrameCAD Structure and Detailer, these dimensions are swapped around, and usually you're going to see height first and then width. And then same thing with the door, you're going to see the height first and then the width. So don't get confused on that. Also, we have what is called our head location. This is where our header starts for any of our openings. This header piece is usually something that's a big beam, and in this case it's a webbed header, and it spans this gap that's created by this opening to connect the wall back to itself. Same thing here with the door. So where that starts is called the head location, and typically you want your doors and your windows, the top of those openings, to be at the same exact number. So if you have windows, if you have doors, usually the tops of them are all at the same height. Sometimes with the interior doors, you might have some doors that are shorter, like 6'8" instead of 7 feet. But typically with your openings, you want the top of the openings to be at the same height. So those are called head locations. And in our scenario, we're going to use 7 feet as a head location. So when we add a door, we're going to say that's 7 feet tall. The head location is 7 feet, meaning that it has 0 for a sill. Same thing with our window. It is 3'6" high or tall, and it starts at 7 feet, comes all the way down to what is known as a sill. So with that in mind, we can continue, and we're going to add our doors. So let me scoot this aside. Got my file here. We're going to quick navigate to border number 1. So V, enter. Oops. Go back here. V, enter, 1, enter. So now I'm going to make sure that our first floor block is visible by turning the visibility for temporary layer number 1 on. We can do that using LT1 and hit enter. So now I can see where all of my door openings and window openings are going to occur. I'm going to navigate to sheet A21 proposed ADU SB9 floor plan just for some reference. So let me go ahead and grab that. Let's go here and let's go to 104, and we've got our lectures, and we've got this sheet right here. So we're going to reference this CD set here, and I'm going to navigate over to the floor plan view, which is this one right here. We're working on this area here, so I'm going to go ahead and zoom into that area. All right. So we're going to start with the slider door between the kitchen and the private patio, which is this one right here. Notice that it has a number. Okay. Our doors will have what are called door tags. This is what a door tag looks like. It's an identifier for that specific door. That door is 203. This door is 202. We have 205. We have 208. We have 210. This is our signifier or for doors, right? The door tag. Now, when we get windows, windows have their own window tag, and it's this little hexagonal shape. And this one says 210 on it. Okay, so whenever we see 203 in our door schedule, this is the window schedule. Here is our door schedule, and now we can see all of our opening sizes. So for 203, the width is going to be 6 feet, and the height is going to be 7 feet. So I'm going to go back to FrameCAD Structure, and what I want to do is initiate the user door command, which is UD, and you hit enter. You could also find that same command here in the structure drop-down menu under editing, panels, layout, and UD user defined door. So go ahead and click on that. I'm going to enter 7 feet as the opening height. So it says S to set up or enter the opening height. I want the opening height to be 7 feet because this is the door. And the opening width, I want that to be 6 feet. Okay. And then I have all of these choices as how to tell FrameCAD structure where my door is. And each one of these words is capitalized, H, V, A, C, and so on. And here in brackets, I can see that it says C. So I'm going to go ahead and use the center, which means that I'm going to come in here using this floor plan. I'm going to snap to this endpoint and this endpoint, and then the door opening is going to be centered in that between those two spots. So there's my first door. I've got my 7-foot tall, 6-foot wide door. The next thing we can do is we can define well, let's just turn off our temporary layer. I'm going to end the command by hitting enter. I'm going to hit escape 2 times, LT1. And now I can see my walls and I can see my door. Okay, so let's go ahead and use that command again, LT1, and then UD. All right, the opening height is 7 feet. The opening width is 6 feet. So let's go back to our drawing. And I know that I have another sliding door with the same exact size, 203 and 202. So let's go back to our floor plan and find those two doors. There it is, right over here, up in the bedroom number 1. So let's go back to structure. Here it is. The opening width, yep, 6 feet. I could just hit enter. If you see those values in those brackets and they look correct, go ahead and hit enter. And then I'm going to use C for center, and I'm going to click once, and then I'm going to click twice, and now I have got a new door in that wall. And then we can continue doing this for the rest of our doors. So I'm going to go ahead and do that next. Let's find this door value. You may want to print this floor plan out and then start to jot down some notes just for your own reference. So 201, I've got mine right here. 201, this is door number 2, 3 foot wide. 7 foot. Go back, and I'm going to type in UD, 7 foot high, 3 feet wide. And I'm going to find this point and that point, and there's my door. Okay, let's look for any other exterior doors. I think that's all the exterior doors. So now I'm going to zoom in. Let's go back and see if there's any other doors that are also 3 feet in width. That way I could just go ahead and use these settings that I have right now. So looking at my door schedule, I have 201, which I just did. Okay, looks like I don't have any more 3 foot wide doors. So let's do the next door. Let's try this one here by the bathroom. Looks like it's 208, which is 2 foot 10 inches. So I'm going to enter to end the command escape escape UD 7 foot high. Looks like our interior doors are actually 6 foot 8 inches. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and say 208 is 6 foot 8, so 6 foot 8 inches. And then my width is going to be 2 foot 10 inches. 2 foot 10 inches. All right. And now I can go and pick my center. Let's put it right here and right here. Okay, there's that door. Do I have any other doors that are also 2 foot 10? Yes, I do. 206. Let's find where 206 is. Oops, wrong plan. That's right. 206. Closet door. Let's go back here. Now, while I'm still in this command, I can use the same settings for this command to add this next door. So now I have another 2 foot 6 inch, 2 foot 10 inch door. Actually, that doesn't look right. I'm going to hit escape a couple times. I'm going to go ahead and take this and delete it. That does not seem right to me. If I want to measure this stuff, I can go to the dimensions. I can go to linear, and I'm going to select here. I'll select here. That tells me it's 6 foot, 2 foot 6 inches. So I'm going to hit escape. Let's do UD. 6 foot 8 is fine. Let's do two, no, not 2 foot 10. It should be 2 foot 6. There we go. Go ahead and turn off your temporary layer as needed, just to check your progress. Let's go ahead and add this door in here. If I continue using dimension, see that's a 3 foot door. So UD, 6 foot 8 is fine, 3 feet wide is fine, and then we'll do from here to there. There's my door. Go ahead and delete these dimensions as you go along. Let's find this one here. From here to there should be 2 foot 8. I'm going to do UD, 6 foot 8, 2 foot 8, and I'm going to pop in a door right here. I'm going to delete this dimension. Let's add this door in here next. That one's 3 feet, so I'm going to type in UD, 3 foot wide. And do it from here to here. Okay, let's do this closet door next. That one's going to be 5 feet, so UD, 6 foot 8, 5 foot wide. Perfect. Delete this dimension. Let's go to our bathroom. Let's figure out how big this one is. 2 foot 8. Foot 8. Grab my 2 points. Delete my dim. All right. Got my doors there, doors there, doors here, doors there. Okay. All of my doors are here. B enter, 1 enter. Turn off my temporary layer. Look at my progress. Make sure everything looks good. Everything seems fine to me. Okay, great. Now we can add on our windows. So now let's go ahead and do temporary layer back on. We're going to use the command called UW. If user door was UD, user window is UW. So let's go ahead and go to the structure drop-down menu. I'll show you guys where it is here. User window. Also, you could just type in UW. So now it's asking me for a height. So I'm definitely going to need to reference my floor plans. So let's go back to this one. Okay, this one is 210. If I look at 210, it says its height is 3 feet. So I'm going to type in 3 feet. Width is 3 feet. I'm going to center it from here to here. Let's do our next window. Let's see, this window right here is called 2-1. This is 4 foot by 4 foot. So I'm going to hit enter, escape, escape. UW, 4 foot tall, 4 foot width. Actually, let's hit enter and escape a couple times. UW, I want to make sure the head location is set to the right place. So I'm going to type in H for head location. I'm going to type in 7 feet, hit enter, and opening height 4 feet, opening width 4 feet, center, and I'm going to click these 2 points here. So I forgot to do that with this window. So I'm going to hit escape a couple times. I'm going to delete this window, user window, and head height should be 7 feet. Opening height should be 3 feet. Opening width should be 3 feet. And I'm going to go from here to there. Okay, I forgot to check to make sure that the head location of my windows are at 7 feet, just like the height of the doors or the head location of the doors. I want that also to be at 7 feet. So let's go ahead and check on this window here. This window is 2-3, which is 3 foot by 2 foot. So let's hit enter, escape, escape, UW. H is already set to 7 feet. My opening height, this is 2.3, is 2 feet. And then my opening width, 3 feet. I'm going to go from here to there. All right, let's check on the size of this window here. It's 2.4. This is going to be 3 foot wide by 4 foot tall. So I'm going to hit enter, escape, escape, UW. The height will be 4 feet. Width will be 3 feet. 2, 2, 4. Width is 3 feet. That's correct. I'm going to hit enter. I'm going to snap to this point, snap to that point, and boom, it puts right in the middle. I think this window is the same size, 2.5. Yep. So I'm going to go back and snap to here and snap to there. Okay. Let's go over to 2.6. Same size as well. So I'm going to use the same command. Click here, click here. And then now let's go over to 2.7, which is 2.6. I'm going to move over here and hit enter to end that command. Escape, escape, UW. My opening height this time is 2.7 is 2 feet. So 2 feet. And then my opening width is going to be, it's 2 foot 6 inches. So 2 foot 6 inches. And I'm going to place it right here and right there. Let's move on to the bedroom number 1. I'm going to hit enter, escape, escape, UW. And the height for these windows are 2.8 and 2.9 is going to be 4 foot, 4 foot. So 4 foot height, 4 foot width. I'm going to click here. I'm going to click there. I'm going to click here. And I'm going to click here. All right. That does it for all my windows. So now I've got all my doors in. I've got all my windows in. That's looking good. What else do we want to do in this exercise? Oh, okay. Let's go ahead and make sure to save this project. So I'm going to type in, I'm going to do a save as. So let's do this as A2. FCAD intro project. TJC. All right. So make sure you save. Save as often as you can. Right now we're going to do something called coding our roof and support lines. So we're going to quick navigate to border number 2. B, enter, 2, enter. Before we can input any of our trusses, we need to designate the outline / building footprint polyline as the external load-bearing support line. So this line right here, we're going to tell structure that this represents the external load-bearing walls of the first floor. So right now it's just a line, but we need to tell FrameCAD structure these are load-bearing walls. This polyline will represent the heel location of the trusses and be coded as support line. We also will learn how to add and code roof lines representing the eaves overhang. Note, wall panels, trusses, and joists all have different properties and different engineering requirements. Coding informs the FrameCAD structure software of the function of the line you are drawing and therefore what intelligence should be applied to it. So we're going to initiate the offset command. So type in offset, type in a distance of 12 inches. We're going to click on this polyline, okay, and then it's going to ask us a side for parallel copy. So we're going to click anywhere outside of this area. And now we have a copy of it that's exactly 12 inches away from the original one. Okay, I'm going to hit enter, and the command escape, escape. This line represents the overhangs of our lower roof. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to define the inner line as support lines and the outer lines as roof lines. So we're going to initiate the SL code support line, which we can find here under structure, under trusses, under layout, SL code support line, and RL code roof line. So support line and roof line. I clicked on this one first. And it's going to ask us to select the lines to code as support lines. I'm going to click on this one here and press enter. It should turn a deep dark orange color. And then the next thing we want to do is go to structure. We're going to go to trusses, layout, and we're going to code roof line. And we're going to select this offset polyline and hit enter. Now that should be a dashed cyan line, which represents the roof overhangs. So the way roof theory works here in FrameCAD structure is that the truss software operates on the basis that every roof is a rectangle or a collection of rectangles. Throughout this training manual, these rectangles would be referred to as roof blocks. Sometimes these roof blocks may merge or overlap, and sometimes they may have more than four sides, but broadly speaking, they are still a collection of blocks. The trick to creating an accurate roof plan and truss layout is to be able to identify the roof blocks. When identifying roof blocks, it is usually easier to start with the smallest blocks and work up to the largest block. Using this method, you can usually simplify the drawing as you go. This drawing here shows an example of a roof consisting of two roof blocks, where the entire roof is of one pitch. All roof lines will be at right angle to each other with the hips and valleys at 45 degrees. Regardless of the complexity of the roof, the direction of fall is always towards a gutter or valley. If you ever have a roof falling to a hip or ridge, you have a problem as water will not run uphill. Here's an example of a more complex roof consisting of four roof blocks. Okay, so now we're going to move on to creating roof lines. We're going to use the create roof lines command. So initiate it by going to the structure drop-down menu. We're going to go to trusses, layout, and it's going to be CRL, create roof lines, or just type in CRL. That's the keyboard alias. All right, now it says right-click for setup or select first point of roof lines. We need to define a roof line by 3 points. The first 2 points define the roof width and the orientation of the trusses, and the third point determines the extent of the trusses and the roof length. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this corner here, and then this corner down here. A small little symbol will appear over here on this edge, and in my command line it says select roof type. Dutch, hip, gable, valley, boomerang, radial, unequal radial, dormer. We're going to say gable. So I'm going to type in G for gable, whichever one is capitalized, whatever letter or the set of letters is capitalized here, Dutch or hip or gable. That's how you initiate a gable roof. We're going to type in G for gable and hit enter. Now it's asking us about the other side. I'm also going to say G for gable. And now we should have, this is a ridge line. Right? This is where that roof meets up at the very top. Now we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to use the same command, CRL, enter. This time I'm going to pick on this far right, top right corner, bottom right corner, and then I'm going to click right here. It's asking me what type of roof this is. This is G for gable. And then it's going to ask me what's happening over here. I'm going to say V for valley, right? Because now I have a cross gable roof and then another cross gable roof that's going to butt up into it. Where that intersection occurs is what's called a valley. This is where it's sloping downwards. So I'm going to see V for valley and hit enter. And now we should have these lines drawn. Let's go ahead and make sure to save file. Let's go save. Always save periodically. All right, adding trusses. Now that we have added our support lines and configured the appropriate truss settings, we can begin drawing trusses. So let's go to structure, trusses, layout, and TD truss layout input, or truss draw, TD truss draw. Click it. You could also just type in TD. And for the truss draw, we're going to use very similar points in the very similar sequence as we did when we did CRL. But this time, we want to make sure to snap to the support lines. So notice here, when I hover my cursor, that little red square that's snapping to the endpoint is now on the support line, not up here, but right here. And that's going to be really important. So let's snap to that line, snap to this endpoint, and then this endpoint here. It's going to ask us the same questions. This is a G for gable. This is a G for gable. And boom, there's all of our trusses. Let's do the same thing on the one on the right side. I'm going to hit enter to reissue that last command that I just used. And I'm going to go ahead and select here on the support line, here on the support line. And then for this one, I'm going to select where the intersection of the two orange lines are. And I'm going to click there. Okay, when you zoom in like that, and you get to this point of the command, if you zoom back out, that little asterisk that's supposed to appear right here is going to disappear. Um, it only stays there for just a little while, right? It's based on when you're zooming in and out. So if you zoom in and then zoom back out again, it's going to be disappeared. But in the command line, it'll still ask you the same question. But I'm going to hit escape again. Escape. Let's type in, or let's hit enter to reissue that command. This time I'm not going to zoom out. So I'm going to click here, I'm going to click here, I'm going to click here. That is the asterisk I'm talking about. So G for gable and then V for valley. And boom, there are my new trusses on that side. Let's go ahead and hit save. All right, the next thing we want to do here in this border is a command called LA label all. So let's go to the structure drop-down menu. Let's go to trusses, editing. All right, I give up. It's under miscellaneous. Here it is, LA label all. Okay, and we're going to zoom out, and we can either hit enter and it will label all of these trusses in this border, or I can actually individually check what truss. So I'm just going to say enter. And now every single truss has been labeled. Each one of them has a very specific label. You notice that this truss right here, all of these trusses, they also have this little pink area. That is the overhang of the truss, okay? And that's why you want to define these trusses as going from this support line to this support line, because that represents where the heel location of the truss is. And then anything that goes past that towards this roof line is this overhang. So it's coded and scripted differently. So that's how we do all of our trusses and add our labels. And next thing we want to do is let's go ahead and we're going to start building this thing. So the next section is let's save, file, save. Let's go border number 1. Okay. And quick navigate to number 1, and we're going to start building these walls. So let's type in pset. And then under options, we're going to go to panel builder filters and current view only. Make sure that's set to true. Okay, what that means is if I say panel, build all my panels, it's only going to do it in this border. Okay, if I don't have this set and I say build all my panels, it's going to build any panels that are in the whole entire file. So I don't want that. I'm going to say save. And then the next thing I'm going to do is now I'm going to start building it. So you can either type in PPD or here under structure, under panels, under PPD is the panel builder. So go ahead and click panel builder. Okay, this is going to give us a list of all of our panels. Okay, these two little X's means that there are no labels on these panels. So I'm going to need to change that. So I'm going to close this dialog box. Here, I'm going to type in LA label all, and then I'm going to hit enter. Now all my walls are labeled. I'm going to type in PPD to go back to panel builder. Now all of those labels are on this left-hand column. I can scroll through each one of these walls really quickly to check on my progress, make sure that everything looks proper. Everything looks fine to me. We're also looking for this green status right here. Right, if I expand this window, it says quantity required, heads that are passed, stud passed, everything passes. That's a good thing. That means based on all of those codes that we put into border setup, based on the design of the structure thus far, what's on top of these walls, everything is passed. Everything has passed. So what we're going to do now is we're going to select all. We're going to say to CAD. Okay, what that's going to do, it's going to create a sheet for every single one of these wall panels, showing that their status is passed, showing our codes down below, telling us if it's load bearing or not. All right, there are 15 of these views. If you double click on your middle wheel button, you get to see them all. And notice we've now navigated to panel point 1. We're no longer in layouts. We are now in panel point 1. So I'm going to right click this. I'm going to change the name. I'm going to call it walls. Okay. Just because that's a more familiar term to me than panels. All right. So all of those are done. Next thing we want to do is create a 3D preview. Let's go back to layouts. And we're going to use a command called, let's use P3D. So I'm going to type in P3D and hit enter. Okay. It's going to say press enter for global selection or select the walls to show 3D. I'm going to hit enter. Okay. If this is your first time creating a 3D preview, this is what it's going to look like. Okay. It's going to look like we're still looking at a plan view, but we're not. We're actually in a 3D view. What I want you to do is come over here to this view cube and click on any one of these corners or sides or edges and just go ahead and click once and you'll see what that looks like. Looks like we're all topsy-turvy here though. So let's go to this one and then we'll go to that one. All right, that's a much better view. Okay, so now we're looking at a 3D model of our building. Okay, every time we use this command, FrameCAD Structure is going to generate a new 3D preview as we make changes. So it does not update this 3D model as we update our layouts. Okay, so if I were to come over here to layouts and delete everything here, okay, and go back to model, everything's still there. So that shows you that this does not update live. Okay, I'm going to hit undo, undo. So if I were to change a wall, if I were to add a new opening, if I go back to model, I'm not going to see any of those changes. You would have to type in P3D and it's going to delete the old model and then type in P3D again and it's going to bring back a new model. So let me show you what that looks like. If I take one of our walls here, I'm going to delete that wall. I'm going to go back to model. I'm going to say P3D. It deletes the old model, P3D. It regenerates a brand new model, now with more up-to-date information. That wall is now missing. So let's undo, 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 undo. I don't want to delete that wall. I need that wall. All right. So the next thing, obviously, is we've built our walls. We're going to need to build our trusses. So let's go ahead and build that. Let's go back to layouts. Quick navigate to border number 2. All right, and all right, kind of got lost over here. All right, now we're gonna use the truss builder. So structure, trusses, TTD truss builder. Okay, here's all of our trusses. Okay, looks like one of them failed. So we're gonna have to fix that somehow. I'll show you guys how to fix that one, but we'll just go ahead and select all and to CAD. We can always go back and edit it later. If I double click on my middle wheel button, I can see all of my trusses. If I go back to layouts and type in T3D, press enter. Okay, now I can see all of my trusses. I can orbit around this 3D space using Shift and then clicking on the middle wheel button. That's going to allow me to perform what's called an orbit. I can zoom in and out with my cursor wheel. I can pan like this using the middle wheel button. If you just click and drag it around, you can pan, you can zoom, you can use shift and orbit. So that is the state of our 3D model thus far. I'll go ahead and take some screenshots. The first screenshot is going to be layouts. V enter, 1 enter. Make sure you screenshot that so I can see your openings. And then let's turn off LT1. You can show me that screenshot. Let's go to border number 2, screenshot that, and then go to model And let's do T3D and then screenshot this so I can see that you've done the model. All right, cool. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks.